The PGA Tour just made a move that could reshape the future of professional golf. And Rory McIlroy, publicly backing new CEO Brian Rolapp, is sending a clear signal that major changes could arrive sooner than expected. This isn't simply a routine executive. Ryot represents the tour positioning itself for transformation at a moment when the sport's structure, schedule, and identity are all being questioned. Over the past 3 years, the PGA Tour has navigated one of the most turbulent periods in its history, particularly after the rise of LIV Golf forced the tour to rethink prize money, scheduling, and its overall competitive model, while negotiations involving Saudi Arabia's public investment fund added even more uncertainty about what the future of professional golf might look like. Into that environment steps Rolapp, who took the CEO role after serving as the National Football League Executive Vice President of Media and Business Operations, bringing a reputation for handling massive media deals and complex sports business strategies. Speaking ahead of the Players' Championship at TPC, Rolapp offered his most detailed comments yet about the tour's direction, explaining that discussions are already underway regarding schedule adjustments, possible competitive format evolution, and ways to make the PGA Tour's product more compelling for both players and fans. While he stopped short of announcing concrete policies or the carefully measured language suggested that significant structural changes are actively being explored behind the scenes, setting the stage for a potentially transformative era in professional golf. But the message from the PGA Tour leadership was unmistakable: change is coming, and it's likely to be significant. What made the moment even more notable was how quickly Rory McIlroy publicly endorsed the direction of new CEO Brian Rolapp. Speaking ahead of the opening round of the Players' Championship, McIlroy revealed that he had already spoken with Rolapp earlier in the week and that the CEO personally walked him through the ideas he planned to present publicly. That level of direct communication between tour leadership and one of the sport's most influential players signals a rare level of alignment at a time when professional golf is still dealing with the disruption caused by LIV Golf. McIlroy's support wasn't vague or diplomatic either. He described Rolapp's vision as a really good direction for where the tour needs to go. A powerful endorsement considering McIlroy's experience serving on the tour's policy board and his deep understanding of the internal politics that shape major decisions. At the same time, he acknowledged how complicated the task is, noting that the PGA Tour operates like a massive ship with a lot of cooks in the kitchen, where players, sponsors, broadcasters, and tournament organizers all have competing priorities. That honesty highlights just how difficult large structural changes can be within a member-driven organization. Yet the fact that Rolapp is already exploring major adjustments suggests he has been given a clear mandate to modernize the tour, rather than simply preserve the status quo, an effort that now appears to have the backing of some of the sport's most influential voices. Brian Rolapp didn't present detailed proposals yet, but the themes he outlined strongly suggest where the PGA Tour may be heading in the coming years. Schedule adjustments appear firmly on the table, which could mean fewer total events, more intentional breaks in the calendar for player recovery, or a restructured season that aligns more effectively with the biggest competitions in the sport, including major championships and key international tournaments. Competitive format evolution is also being discussed, potentially involving changes to tournament structures, modified field sizes, or new qualification systems that reward consistent performance across the season rather than simply week-to-week results. The driving force behind these conversations is a growing recognition that professional golf's product needs to evolve in a rapidly changing sports landscape. Television ratings have been inconsistent in recent years. Casual viewers often struggle to follow a tour schedule that stretches across more than 40 events over the course of an entire year, and younger audiences who are increasingly accustomed to faster, more dramatic sporting formats sometimes find it difficult to stay engaged with golf's slower pace and long tournament structure. Rolapp's background with the National Football League is particularly relevant here because the league has mastered the art of building weekly anticipation and dramatic storylines within a clearly defined season structure. While golf cannot and should not attempt to copy football directly, certain principles such as a tighter schedule, clearer competitive stakes throughout the season, and a stronger playoff narrative could potentially translate into a more compelling viewing experience for fans. What makes the situation even more interesting is the timing of the strong public backing from Rory McIlroy, one of the most influential voices in the game. McIlroy shared these supportive comments while dealing with his own nagging back issue that has created uncertainty around his ability to defend his title at the Players' Championship, yet he still prioritized speaking directly with Rolapp and publicly endorsing the vision being discussed. That decision suggests McIlroy views this leadership moment as critically important for the long-term direction of professional golf, important enough to address even while managing personal health concerns and preparing for competition. The context makes that support even more significant because relationships between tour leadership and players have been strained, at times during the disruption caused by LIV Golf and the complicated negotiations involving Saudi Arabia's public investment fund During that period, some players felt blindsided by major announcements, while others questioned whether their input was truly being valued or simply requested for appearance's sake. McIlroy's open endorsement of Rolapp's early direction therefore signals something potentially important: a renewed effort to create alignment between leadership and the sport's most prominent players, at a moment when professional golf is still redefining its competitive structure, its business model, and its future identity in a rapidly evolving global sports landscape. Brian Rolapp appears to be deliberately working to rebuild trust within the PGA Tour by communicating directly with influential players and incorporating their perspectives before publicly announcing major changes. That strategy makes practical sense, because any meaningful structural reform within the tour requires strong player support to succeed. Unlike many professional leagues, the PGA Tour operates as a member-driven organization, meaning players hold significant influence through policy board representation and voting rights. If leading players oppose proposed reforms, implementation can quickly stall or collapse altogether. By securing early public backing from Rory McIlroy, Rolapp is effectively signaling to the rest of the locker room that one of the sport's most respected voices believes the tour is moving in the right direction. That endorsement matters because McIlroy has been deeply involved in the tour's governance and understands its internal politics better than most active players. The next phase will depend on how quickly Rolapp can transition from broad ideas and strategic themes to specific proposals that players can analyze, debate, and ultimately vote on. The history of the PGA Tour includes many ambitious concepts that generated long discussions but never materialized, because achieving consensus proved too difficult. Rolapp's challenge will be converting his vision into practical policies capable of surviving the tour's complicated political process, where player interests, tournament organizers, sponsors, and media partners all influence the outcome. McIlroy's comments suggest cautious optimism that Rolapp possesses both the leadership ability and the mandate necessary to guide the organization through that complexity. Yet even he understands that good intentions and intelligent strategies do not automatically translate into real change. The true test will arrive when concrete proposals are placed in front of players, and they must decide whether supporting transformation is worth the uncertainty and disruption that often accompany major structural shifts in professional golf, especially in an era still shaped by the competitive pressure created by LIV Golf and the broader debates about the future direction of the sport. The PGA Tour now finds itself at a crossroads where maintaining the status quo feels increasingly unsustainable. Yet the exact path forward remains uncertain and heavily debated. The arrival of Brian Rolapp as CEO represents a pivotal opportunity to redefine that path, with fresh strategic thinking and a broader sports business perspective shaped by his experience with the National Football League. At the same time, the public backing of Rory McIlroy gives Rolapp immediate credibility among players who respect McIlroy's judgment and his deep understanding of what benefits competitive golf in the long term. That endorsement matters because the PGA Tour operates as a player-driven organization where meaningful structural changes require strong internal support to become reality. Whether this combination of new leadership and influential player alignment can truly transform the tour's schedule, competitive format, and long-term business model remains to be seen. But the fact that serious strategic discussions are now taking place on that top players are actively engaged in shaping those conversations represents meaningful progress during a period that has been defined by turbulence and uncertainty, particularly in the wake of competition from LIV Golf. For now, the direction is still being defined. But one thing is clear: the PGA Tour is beginning to move toward a new era, and McIlroy believes that direction may ultimately be the right one for the future of professional golf.